Hey there, hockey fans. Nick Hart back again, coming to you from Isolation Station. We already talked to Colby Armstrong about that historic 3-overtime game that the Penguins had against the Binghamton Senators 15 years ago on April 25th, 2015. A great chat with Army, but we would be remiss if we didn't talk to the man who was between the pipes for that triumph over the Binghamton Senators. It is my great pleasure right now to be joined via video conference call with Andy Chiodo, currently the Penguins goaltending development coach, but of course you Penguins fans all know him as the star who was manning the crease for the Penguins years ago and in that triple overtime game. Andy, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to me here. And how are you and your family doing during this time?
Thanks, Nick. Thanks for having me. We're doing well. We're doing well right now. We went through a period of time just around Christmas where our little guy had a major health issue. It was really serious. It was a tough few months, but he got through it. And at this point, he's healthy. He's doing great. So as a family, we're really enjoying that. And of course, aware and really being as diligent as we can with everything going on in the world right now. But, to have him healthy and running around again has been really nice for us. So right now we're doing well. We got hat, because I'm not as sharp as you right now. The quarantine hairdo is not acceptable. But we're doing okay despite everything going on. And before we even start, we have to say, our thoughts are with everyone going through a tough time right now. Grateful to all the frontline workers who are, risking their own well-being to help others. Just a lot of gratitude for them and thoughts with everyone going through a difficult time, and just hopefully everyone's staying strong.
Yeah, ditto. Amen to that, Chico. We got some people out there that are doing more than we could possibly imagine right now to keep just society afloat right now. And a big stick to all those guys out there, guys and gals like you mentioned. And happy to hear that you and your family are doing well after going through those trials and tribulations late last year. But hey, now we got to talk hockey. It's been a while since you and I had a chat about the game, but, I don't want to talk about Penguins prospects, goalies like we usually do. We got to talk about you now, and we got to talk about that crazy game, that triple overtime game against the Binghamton Senators. But before we actually break down the contest, I want to sort of set the scene for that series. You guys get into the playoffs, and Binghamton's waiting for you in the first round. They finished first place in the division. They had 47 wins in a star-studded lineup too. Guys like Jason Spezza, Antoine Vermette, Chris Kelly, Chris Neal, Anton Volchenkov, and then Ray Emery, your opponent at the opposite side of the guys who went on to have lengthy and great NHL careers. As a goaltender, I know you're trying to keep a solid mindset, take it one shot at a time, all those cliches going into a series. But when you're going up against a team with that much firepower, how much of that is really on your mind before the series begins?
It certainly was. I mean, their whole team, they could score. Spezza had probably 120 plus points that year. I think Denny Hamel had almost 40 goals or something like that. They could score, and they were having a great time. They had a ton of swagger as a team. They were winning. They were tough to beat at home. So going into the series, I had spent some time in the coast just before playoffs. I came up. I played the last game of the season against Norfolk, I believe. And then we started the playoffs, and I was on the bench, and Flower was playing. And I remember from the outside looking in, Binghamton just came out flying in their building. The first few shifts, they get one right away, and they just kept coming. And I remember sitting there watching, in Binghamton, you're not on the bench with the team. You're in the corner there, right? And I'm alone, and I'm just thinking, man, these guys are flying. And we had a great team. So that was the first indication this is going to be a series. I played the second game, and same thing. They came out flying. Brian McGrattan steps over the blue line, and he beats me high glove. I wasn't happy about the goal. I thought I could have played better. I wasn't happy with my game at all. Felt a little bit responsible for not being better early on. But those two games, it was clear, these guys are good. They're really good. And they also, not just they were good, but they had, like I said, this swagger about them that they just felt like they were going to win hockey games. So I would say that was what we knew during the regular season. But those first two games, it was like, well, these guys are coming.
Yeah, the swagger was well earned, if you will, with their record in the regular season. They had beaten you guys 7 games in a row in the regular season and then take those first 2 games up at the Floyd in Binghamton. But then the series shifts back to Northeastern Pennsylvania. You're down 2-0, but this is now your first game of the postseason on home ice in front of that rocking crowd. You know the place is going to be electric. But is there any sort of added pressure going into that game, or are you just riding the high of a crowd in a moment like that?
Yeah, it's interesting because sometimes you get your back against the wall like that, and there's actually a sense of calm that somehow comes over you. It's hard to explain. So, game 2, obviously, I wasn't pleased with how I played, and it was a tough game, but you're going back. It's game 3, it's at home. So many good memories and vibes from the playoff season before, where we went to the Calder Cup final, and there was some excitement building up. So the night before, my parents came into town. We went to that Benihana's restaurant where they cook in front of you the night before the game, had a nice dinner, and went home, had a great sleep, slept perfectly, woke up. We had a morning skate the next day, and it was the first time I'd ever done this. I went out in just my skates and player gloves, and I just messed around. It was an optional skate. The ice was open. I felt really loose. I just went out there, wanted to get a sweat, did some movements, shot the puck around. It was a little bit, what's he doing? He's playing tonight. It was a little bit different at the time. Anyway, the day was calm. I remember watching actually a Michael Jordan documentary that day. We were just talking about Michael Jordan airing right now on Netflix.
Cool, yeah.
I watched a great documentary on him kind of during and after my nap. I kind of drifted. I didn't really sleep that day. And he got me fired up for sure. You watch him perform, and he's, it's another level. The way he thought, the way he was so confident, his ability to win, and just how many big moments he was able to generate in his career. So I loved watching that. Went to the rink and was just, there was a sense of calm even with our team. And then, as you know, triple overtime. It was a night. It was my birthday. It was my birthday that day, which was cool, April 25th. And it was a hard-fought game. I think we got scored on first, if I remember correctly. And then before you knew it, you're 3 overtimes, and we were fortunate to win the hockey game.
Yeah, you are right. The Senators actually did score first. I could be mistaken. I'm trying to remember the score sheet, trying to use a photographic memory here. I think all 4 goals that were scored in regulation were power play goals, 2 for Binghamton and 2 for the Penguins. And even so, the score sheet is just littered with penalties, so much special teams during regulation. When you're a goalie in a big moment like that and you keep seeing, penalty after penalty or special teams after special teams, is it difficult to get in a rhythm or anything like that?
Well, you had to expect it that series because, first of all, when that team got on the power play, they were lethal. Mm-hmm. They had a lot of guys who could they had scorers. They had guys who could produce. It was they were NHL lineups. When you look at our lineup, we had our back end, you had Nazarene, Scuderi, Ryan Whitney, David Kochi, Chris Kelleher at the time, Ross Lukaschuk. We had a good, solid group. And then you think about killing those penalties, and I don't remember details of it, but I just remember being on guard all the time because that team could score. But yeah, the rhythm of the game, I don't remember the details of how I felt about the special teams, but knew we had to get a win that night. So in the moment, if you're ever in the moment, it's when your back's against the wall and you're down 2-0 in a series. Just stop pucks and hope to get the win.
Yeah, but then you get into a situation where to win that game, to get back in the series, you have to go past 60 minutes. And the next shot could be the one that ends it right there. I know for players, they talk a lot about how tired you can get and how exhausting it can be, not just physically, but also mentally, to go that deep into a contest. But as a goalie, too, so much of the game is played between the ears. Is it difficult to stay laser focused when you're at minute 80, minute 90, minute 100 throughout the course of a long game like that?
It's a good question. It's actually the opposite. I've played a few triple overtime games in my career, 2 years before I finished. The commonality among all those games is you get into this zone, you get into this calm, focused state, where during it, while it's happening, you feel like you can go like for days. And one period rolls into the next. Intermissions are a little bit shorter. The pace of play obviously goes down a little bit as well. So the guys aren't firing. Everyone's getting tired. But from a mental standpoint, it's interesting because you're right. The majority of where we're drawing our focus and energy is upstairs. And there's this level of clarity that you get, that I felt, that you feel like you can just go and go and go. And you get past certain thresholds where you think you're tired, but you're not. And then you're just on autopilot. And it becomes kind of a blur. And you just hope that you end up on the right side of it because the scoring chance is going to end the game. But as far as the focus level goes, it's a really cool feeling. Like, it's one I'd love to feel again. But I don't know where you'd feel that. But it was cool.
You never know. You might be, in a press box watching a prospect or something like that. Next thing you know, you're in 5 OT, and you want to make sure your guy's the one who makes the big stop and not lets the big goal in. Maybe that'll sort of recollect that feeling. But you mentioned before, you got into that zone, and you almost had that clarity, and you were clearly locked in because third period goes by, still a tie game. You go through 1 OT, 2 OT, right there. That's 3 periods without letting a goal in. So I know you don't get credited for a shutout, but the work got put in there for a clean sheet. So I'll just say you got a birthday shutout there.
Thank you.
What do you remember about the moment when the game finally ends at 112 minutes and 26 seconds? The goal happens at the other side of the ice. Is it relief, excitement, a mixture of the two?
Yeah, there's for sure some relief. There's excitement. I mean, I remember them. I think Bingo, there was a failed rush entry. They turn it over. Chris Beach goes the other way. He steps and he steps over the blue line, and Colby Armstrong is just driving the middle lane. And Beachy hits him. Colby gets behind their D, and Beecher hits him. And everyone, the crowd goes nuts. There's a sense of you're elated. You let your guard down. You then realize you're tired. You then realize you've been at this for, a number of hours. And then it's a celebration. You're happy. But again, it's interesting how there's this sense of calm that comes over that whole entire experience. Guys were really happy because we got ourselves back in the series. And I think there was a feeling like it's not 3-0 now, it's 2-1, and we're playing at home again. And there was a real feeling like, hey, we're back in the series. And that was big because I actually talked to Jason Spezza this morning when you guys asked me to come on. I thought I'd call a few of the guys and see what they remembered of the series. And, with Spez, he just said they went all in game 3. They played their top guys the whole way. It was an opportunity to go up 3-0. No one was beating them at home that season. And they really went for it. And I think that fatigue their big guys felt in game 4, where we were able to, win at home again. And then even though it's a 2-2 series, they were pretty comfortable at home. So for us to knock them off at home like that really, really kind of was close to putting the nail in the coffin. And he just remembers playing a ton in that triple overtime game, their top guys, and being pretty tired for game 4. And then we were coming. They still played well, but it was great. A huge momentum swing. I mean, we don't win that game, we don't win that series.
And because you won that game, you guys did win this series. The most dramatic of momentum swings, coming into the game down 2-0. You then win the next 4 games, starting with that triple overtime victory with you posting all those huge saves with the game on the line and a tied third period, and then the 3 additional overtime periods after that. I got to ask you, though, you mentioned you played in a lot of, long overtime games throughout your career, but the fact that this one happened on your birthday, where does this rank in terms of the best birthdays you've ever had?
It's, my birthday, I have a connection to my experiences in Wilkes because the season before we were down 3-1 in the first round to Bridgeport.
Okay, yeah.
We came back, and game 7 was on my birthday as well. So and we won in overtime in Bridgeport.
Yeah, Konstantin Koltsov, right?
Oh, you're right. Low shot, beat who was the goaltender? Beat him 5-hole along the ice. Cross ice pass is awesome. His name is failing me right now, but Yeah, and that was on my birthday. It was a special birthday, right? And then the following year, we win this triple overtime game. So playoffs and my birthday throughout the years there was always kind of a key moment. And I experienced a few other big games on my birthday, and it was always a special day. And the fans, I'll never forget. I've got such a special place in my heart for our fans in Wilkes, but they sang happy birthday in Bridgeport from the stands to me during that game 7, which was really special. And those were great times. It lives with me, wish we could have won. It lives with me to, wish we could have won that Calder Cup, wish I could have elevated to get it done. And the following year, be going through bingo would have been great to go on a big run as well. But for those big moments, our fans and the teammates that we had at that time, which a lot of them are still very good friends, it was pretty special.
Yeah, that's a moment that remains special to a lot of people, not just those that were playing in the game, not even those that were fortunate enough to be in the arena that night, but a lot of fans mentioned that as one of their favorite moments in Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins history. 21 seasons of hockey and that triple overtime game, understandably so, with it being a victory in the longest game in team history, comes up a lot as people's favorites. And you were a part of that. And we can't thank you enough for taking the time to talk to me here, Chico, and sort of reminisce on this magnificent moment in Penguins history that happened 15 years ago on your birthday.
Well, you know what? Thanks for bringing me back, because they're wonderful memories, and it was fun to go back down memory lane. Thank you.